Hey, what's up everybody, this is Muth24, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children 2-disc Special Edition DVD release. This is a story that takes place, I believe, 2 years after the original Final Fantasy VII game, and deals largely with Cloud in this sort of post-Sephiroth world, and how he has to sort of find his own identity again. And I have to be honest right off the bat here that I have not played Final Fantasy VII. A lot of the classic games that I've played, there's one of the few that I have not played through, and I'm actually pretty new to the Final Fantasy series in general. I played Crystal Chronicles back in the day, but I know that's not really a core Final Fantasy game. And the only ones of the core series that I've played are the original Final Fantasy for the NES, the Final Fantasy XIII, and then I've also played some of Final Fantasy IV on the DS, so that re-release. But I have not played 7, though I am relatively familiar with the events that happen therein, and figured I would pick up this film and see just kind of what it was all about, because I'd heard a lot of good things about it. So, as I said, it takes place 2 years after the game, and one of the things I introduced very early on is this thing called geostigma, and it's sort of this disease that's affecting some people. After the events of the game, it started spreading around, and Cloud and Tifa have taken in 2 orphans, but when the film starts off, Cloud's off kind of doing his own thing, and Tifa doesn't really know where he is, but she's concerned about him, but she's not terribly worried because she realizes that he's sort of trying to find his identity again. And then these 3 guys that kind of bear a resemblance to Sephiroth, though their hair is not nearly as long, and they don't have the trench coat and armor that he does. They still have the silvery hair. They show up and start asking him about Mother, which is referencing Genova. And basically Cloud has a little skirmish with them, and then they kind of take off. And he goes to contact Rufus Shinra, see if he knows anything about it. And basically what happens is Cloud finds out that the geostigma has an effect on these kids, and that these 3 guys have a way to manipulate the children and sort of want to use them to harness the ability to bring a new Sephiroth about. And it's a little vague early on, like how exactly they're going to do that, but I think that also kind of works to the story's advantage, rather. The action scenes are really cool, and if you've ever seen any cutscene in any Square Enix game, you know that they're always just beautifully rendered, and this movie is no exception. I mean, basically, if you take the cutscenes of any Final Fantasy game and just turn them into a full-length movie, that's what you've got here. I mean, it's a few years old now, but even so, it's still pretty impressive for a completely CGI rendered film. The characters were something that I was really frustrated with in this film. I actually did not think I was going to like Cloud. I ended up liking him a lot more than I expected to, because of the fact that he has this internal struggle the entire time. It presents a really, really neat narrative. Tifa, on the other hand, I thought was almost a completely worthless character. She doesn't really do anything. She presents a little bit of motivation for Cloud here and there, but I don't know, she's just kind of like spouting out empty words that don't really have any substance. Vincent Valentine, on the other hand, I felt like his inclusion was definitely merited. He wasn't really important, but he did present a sort of this, I don't know, springboard of motivation for Cloud to get back on his A game, and he also presented some really funny moments. The 2 guys that are sort of like underlings to Shinra, they were also pretty entertaining. They also felt like their inclusion was merited, even though they're really not terribly important to the film. But there's a couple points where they do show up and make something of an impact on the plot. And then obviously Kadaj and the other 2 guys who show up are important to the story. But the rest of the cast from Final Fantasy VII is basically just there at the end for some glorified cameos. They don't really do much of anything. I mean, they show up to fight this giant Bahamut, and that's cool and all, but as for their impact on the story, it's basically 0, and I found that really frustrating. And I guess, if you're someone who played the games, played Final Fantasy VII back in the day, it's going to be really cool for nostalgia's sake to see them, but again, like, they don't do anything, really. So that was a bit frustrating. The film as a whole was pretty good. I wouldn't say it was anything phenomenal, but if you're a fan of Final Fantasy, then it's probably worth checking out. As for the special features on this 2-disc special edition, you do get a Reminisce of Final Fantasy VII Story Digest. You get the Making of featurette, the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Venice Film Festival footage, a sneak peek of some of the upcoming games, like they had Dirge of Cerberus on here, and I think maybe Crisis Core, I don't remember exactly. And then the trailers for Advent Children and some deleted scenes. So there is some significant inclusions here with these special features, which is pretty cool. I definitely like when they do like the making of stuff, especially for something like this where they're basically taking it from a game to a movie. It's considerably different way to tackle this story. As a whole, it was pretty good. Didn't quite live up to the expectations I had for it, unfortunately. But like I said, if you're a fan of Final Fantasy, probably worth checking out. The end of the film is a little bit predictable. About halfway through, you can kind of figure out where it's going, which is a bit unfortunate. But, if you're just in it for kind of a cool action film that just looks really good, probably worth checking out. But that's pretty much it for this review, and with that, I will see you guys next time.